Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2FY22 earnings conference call of Alkyl Amines Limited, hosted by HDFC Securities. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference has been recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Nilesh Guge from HDFC Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jacob. Good morning, all. On behalf of HDFC Securities, I welcome everyone to this Alkyl Amine call to discuss the result for the quarter ended September 2021. It is pleasure of having with us top management team from Alkyl Amines, represented by Mr. Yogesh Kothari, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Kirat Patel, Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. K.P. Rajgopalan, Corporate Advisor, Mr. Chintamani Thatte, General Manager Legal and Company Secretary, and Ms. Kanchan Shinde, Senior Manager Finance and Accounts. And without further ado, I will now hand over the floor to the management for making the opening comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nilesh, and thank you, HDFC Securities. It's a pleasure to talk to the investors, and this time we are at a situation where the first 6 months have not been as good as what we were expecting. It's a challenging first 6 months, but things are looking brighter now, and we hope to do better in the coming months. For knowledge of our investors, I will make a statement that we have started commissioning our acetonitrile plant, and in a couple of weeks, or rather couple of days, we should start the production. I would like to mention that this first 6 months, or rather even the last quarter, was very challenging for us. Practically each and every raw material of ours, the prices had gone up, in some cases almost 200 to 300%. Acetic acid, which is one of our major raw materials for making acetonitrile, had a real turbulent time. The raw materials which we were buying at in the range of 40-50 rupees per kg went up to 110 to 120 rupees per kg. And this is something, the price rise was not so easy to be absorbed, selling prices. However, in spite of that, we did well. Our plants were running very well, and our efficiency also have improved. Our new plant also will add to that, and we have also started our new project, which is coming up at Kurkum, for manufacture of our higher amines, and this will be one of the largest plants in the world. This plant should come on stream in the end of 1922, and this will also add up much more to our top line. We are also in the process of putting up new projects which are based on our R&D developments, and some of this will come up during the year. We have been fortunate that we were already making few products which are going into the requirement of the new drugs which are necessary for the COVID treatment. So this all are looking positive for the company, and I'm very sure that our performance should improve much more than what has been done in the last 6 months. I would put it now that maybe you should ask questions, and then one by one we will be able to answer. I have with me here Mr. Kirat Patel, Mr. Rajgopalan, Mr. Chintamani, and Kanchan Shinde. So amongst ourselves, we should have most of the answers to your questions. I think I will put the questions now. I'll ask you people to ask the questions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Karan Khanna from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity and good morning, Kirat sir and Yogesh sir. Hope all well.
Yeah.
So,
good morning, Karan.
Yeah. So, sir, firstly, we've seen that your margins have been impacted because of the raw material prices, but your volume growth for the quarter has been fairly strong. However, can you briefly talk about why sequentially also, quarter on quarter, there has been a decline in the revenue and also split between volume and realization growth for the quarter?
Kirat, maybe yes. So quarter to quarter, we have had a decline of about 10% or so in volume, largely due to a few of our products which go into pharma and agro, having issues with the supply chain of our customers. By which I mean, some couple of things have happened, which is that they buy alternate raw materials from other sources, mainly China, and there has been a disruption in the supply of the other raw materials which they use for their APIs or the technicals. And this has caused them to lower their production of the API and affected our volume growth. So the market has temporarily been kind of upset by these small incidences, and all in all about 10% of our volume has been lost due to this market. But we hope that all this will come back because the supply chain is kind of getting sorted out and people are going back to the regular production. So basically it's a volume based. Prices have been more or less constant, unable to pass on the full brunt of the raw material price rise, but they have been respectively up.
Sure. So on the raw material front, from your past experience in quarters like these where you've seen a sharp impact because of the inflationary trend, post how many quarters were you able to pass on these price hikes to your end customers? And as a follow-up, what are the trends that you are witnessing on the raw material front in the month of October and early November?
The prices now of the raw materials seem to be stable. The volatility has kind of eased off because I think it is largely, you can see it started with the crude prices going up and then, resulting into petrochemicals and then downstream. So that seems to have stabilized a bit. Whether it will remain at this level or go up or down is a bit difficult to predict, but at the moment it seems to be stable, and perhaps we hope that it has peaked. The raw material prices have peaked.
And as a follow-up, talking about passing these on to your end customers, how with the lag of 1 or 2 quarters?
It takes about a couple of quarters before we can pass them on to our pass on. Well, we never manage to pass on the full brunt, but most of it onto the customer. Some things we will have to absorb.
Sure. And lastly, on the capex front, can you please talk about your overall capacities for the 600-700 crores of planned capex over the next 2-3 years? And we've also seen share of exports have been declining and were below 20% in FY21, possibly because you were prioritizing the domestic demand. But going forward, do you have plans of setting up additional capacities to cater to the export market also? Because currently you're catering only to roughly 10 countries.
Okay, so let me first answer the last question, which is the export. The export has done well. I mean, in fact, in the last quarter, the exports has been fairly strong, and going forward, we think that exports will increase with a new acetonitrile plant coming on stream. Yes, there are some logistical issues in the exports because of the container and shipping crisis all over the world, which will hopefully get sorted out over the next 6 months. And but at the same time, I think our exports will probably play a larger role in our turnover than they traditionally happen. As far as the capex is concerned and capacities are concerned, yes, we have just finished implementing the acetonitrile plant, which was about 160 crores investment, and hopefully that will start giving revenue in this month onwards. As far going forward, there are some small projects which the one hydrogen plant and other such small projects which are due to be commissioned over the next 6 months. But the biggest project of the lot is the higher amines project, which is being put up in Kurkum to the extent of about 350 to 360 crores, which will be commissioned somewhere in December 22. So this year our capex would be between 170 to 200 crores. Next year would be about the same. It will overlap between the higher amines plant and the acetonitrile and small other issues.
Sure. And any sense on the overall capacities? Is it the next year?
I think we have earlier stated this, that our aliphatic amines capacity will go up by about 30% once the Kurkum plant is on stream. And acetonitrile, as we have stated earlier, will go to about 30,000 tons a year from our current about 12,000.
Sure. Great. I'll come back in the queue. Thank you and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants, you may enter *1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Sridhara, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you for opportunity to ask a question. My first question is on are these prices at their peak, or based on your experience, you think there is still a chance of these prices going up? The raw material prices, basically.
I think this type of prices have not been seen too many times before. Rather, I have not seen such high prices before. But this is all, it can happen anytime. But we hope that it does not happen.
Okay. And my second thing is on, you mentioned about logistic issues. Are we still facing some logistic issues? What kind of, is there container problems or what is it exactly?
Yeah, what happened, I think, a couple of months ago was that there was a shortage of containers. That seems to have sorted out. However, the freight rates are still fairly high compared to what we were used to in the past. For example, if something was about $2,000 for a shipment, it has gone to $8,000 and $10,000. Fortunately, some of our higher value products are able to absorb that, so it's not such a big issue. But availability looks like is slowly being sorted out. The prices remain elevated.
You mean to say there is a problem with the availability of raw materials for us, or?
No. You're talking about logistics. There is availability of containers and shipping.
Okay.
Where raw materials are concerned, availability is not an issue. It's the price.
Okay.
Whether it is the chemicals or it is our utilities like coal and steel and all that, availability is there, but the prices have gone very high. Compared to 1 year ago, something like 100 to 300%. Compared to even previous quarter, they have jumped by 30 to 60%.
Okay, sir. And in the meantime, the Chinese supply is getting now more into India, or in the meantime, they are able to...
Not really. In fact, the Chinese imports, especially going to the pharma industry, is having challenges. Pharma industry is having challenges because of that. And this is somewhere we are also getting hurt because our products which are being used by the same pharma companies are getting affected in their purchase. We hope that this gets sorted out fast.
Okay, got it, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks. That's all.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kishan Gupta from CDP Search. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Gupta.
Yeah. So I actually want to understand this, how much of your this 350 crores revenue this time has come from acetonitrile?
We don't actually break up our revenue product-wise because, there are maybe something like 30 products and each of them are contributing to some extent. The larger products may contribute between 10 to 15% of the revenue, and the smaller products all the way to 1 and 2%. So it's a wide range, But we cannot, comment on in an individual product.
So you mean to say acetonitrile in any which ways will not be more than 15%?
In which way?
In value of total sales, right?
Yeah.
In that range.
Okay. And essentially, if we see like at what prices, raw material prices, you said acetic acid prices, is it viable for you to manufacture acetonitrile?
So we have been manufacturing even at the high prices, but our margins have come down in acetonitrile. So we hope that now it stabilizes because at this high price of the raw material, it's difficult for our competitors also to produce and market.
And what sort of challenges are you expecting, or some sort of disruption in acetonitrile market because of your higher capacities going on stream now?
We do not expect too many disturbances, but there are some new areas which are coming up within India as well as internationally. So from our point of view, these are positive signs for us. We are very competitive in our production, so we can take the challenges as far as the pricing is concerned. Earlier, we did not have enough material to market, So that has now sort of ended, and we will be able to sell more.
Okay. So as you said, like that you don't expect much disruption. So like as you went about increasing your higher raw material price increases to customers, so what sort of pricing power because this is a specialty chemical, so what sort of pricing power you have essentially for acetonitrile, you think?
So there is always a situation where you have to stop somewhere because your consumers also don't want to produce something at higher input costs, But so far we have been quite comfortable in selling our products, and most of the consumers have not had any major issues with that. Because this must be forming a very small percentage in their input costs.
Okay. So essentially you're saying that passing on raw material prices does not appear to be a big challenge for acetonitrile.
In some products,
Sorry?
In some of the products.
Okay.
But
that includes it.
Quarters. It's not instant,
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Dhruv from HDFC. Please go.
Yeah, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, just wanted to understand how does this, global freight rate, sea freight rate changes influence our business? I mean, I'm just wondering, from an import perspective, does it help us in pricing a product better because the imported landed price of the alternate product has become higher? Does that benefit us or no?
No, actually, the market share of imports for most of our products has been marginal, 5 to 10%. So they're not a key driver towards the price setting. Wherever we have about 40%, 30-40% of our turnover is internal competition is more than the domestic. The remainder also, we have a fairly dominant position in the marketplace, so it doesn't really play too much of a role, the imports. Yes, marginal help is there whenever there is some freight differential. But, people like the Chinese and all adjust their prices accordingly.
Okay. So I used to think that ethylamines, I used to think methylamines are largely domestic, but ethyl has a decent import share, or that has reduced over the years.
That has reduced. Between our two plants and Balaji's plants, we must be having more than 80% market share between the domestic players itself.
Okay. And methylose anyway is largely domestic.
Yeah, methylose is largely domestic because the freight is, transporting methylamines is a bit difficult because of the nature of the product.
Got it. And so the second and last question was on the acetonitrile. Now, if I'm not wrong, the alternate is the acrylonitrile and as a byproduct of and acetonitrile come as a byproduct of that. Now, given for our route, the RM cost is increasing, does it, and I'm not sure what's happening to the alternate route, does it in any sense pose a challenge even if the raw material prices stay at the current levels?
Personally, I don't think so because the alternate raw materials, the input cost for them have also gone up. Plus the route which we are using via acetic acid and the product which comes out of that is of a much higher purity with hardly any impurities, So with many applications, the route which we use has a better application, better use, So we do not see any, rather the other acrylonitrile route is not going to, increase or the cost is going to go down by that.
Okay. So are we starting to get a premium for our acetonitrile versus the alternate route now?
We always were getting, because otherwise we would not have been able to sell at all.
Okay. Okay. So, sorry, I'm a bit confused. So for a pharma application, if I'm just wondering for pharma application, if somebody has to buy acetonitrile, given your priority level is better and they are, I believe, in terms of quality requirements very particular, so the alternate will never be bought irrespective of the price, right? I mean, whatever the price differential
depends
be.
Again on end application. In some cases, they were using it earlier also, which they can still use it, But if they are able to get something purer for the same application and at competitive prices, I'm sure they would prefer to use the route which we use,
Okay. Got it, sir. Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Reena Shah from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, I just wanted to ask on acetonitrile itself. Now, what kind of market size is there in India and over the globe which you are looking to capture? Where I think how the global capacities, if you can give some light on how global capacities are there, as we are seeing Balaji also expanding in this particular product, how the dynamics of this particular product would change from here?
I think the international sizes are I mean, rather the capacities are around 150,000 tons to 200,000 tons, and some of it is in China, which is also using, rather most of their production is via the route which we are using. Alkylamine route is also what the way we are using. The internationally acrylonitrile route, I have not seen much changes taking place, and they are trying to be. Whoever is making acrylonitrile and acetonitrile was coming out as a byproduct. They are trying to improve their own efficiencies by making sure that acetonitrile production in that, which comes as a very small byproduct, is reduced. So to improve their own efficiencies. So it's all a circular type of a thing where some changes here and there makes a lot of difference.
Okay. And sir, with this expansion of capacities, how much raw material that would you have to import, or you have to dependent on imports from other countries?
Acetic acid is the main raw material which we use.
Yes.
So that is all going to be imported, Ammonia also indirectly comes imported only. So it's all imported.
Okay. That's it from my side. Thank you so much. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali to you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kavita Thomas from First Global. Please go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Good morning.
Yeah. Sir, sir, I had just two questions on the margin front. Now, sir, we have always had margins, which have been, in upwards of 25, 26%. 28, 30% has been our EBITDA margins in the past. While this quarter it has come down to around 22%. Largely, as you explained, because of increased raw material cost and obviously the other logistic related costs. So, how do you think will this, because as you mentioned, the logistic cost will, take some time to normalize. So overall, how do we see this situation getting back to normalcy? What is your views and could you throw some color on that, sir?
Yes. So, the EBITDA margins which you mentioned earlier, it has been fluctuating. Earlier it used to be between 18 and 22%. And then it slowly started rising about a year and a half ago and went up, as you said, up to about 28%. Then the last couple of quarters they have been dropping. That was the peak, 28%. And the 22% or 23%, which is this quarter's margins, are something which we have a result of the raw material price increases. The price increases are not necessarily due to logistical issues, but because of the supply chain, from crude to petroleum products to downstream commodities, all the way prices have been rising. And it has side effects on various things like coal, and coal has an effect on steel. And generally the basket of goods which we buy, all the prices have risen. So that is the reason why the EBITDA margins have been squeezed. We have not been able to pass on this totally to the customers because it takes a couple of quarters before it is passed on. The other view also is that we think that this is the highest we have seen of these prices, and hopefully this is a trend which will now go in the opposite direction, if not at least stabilize. So this is the overall view of why the EBITDA has gone up and down.
Yes, sir. Sir, thanks for the clarification. So I only wanted to understand further in terms of now, how long do you think will this, continue? Because though they have peaked out, as you said, to pass it on to the customers, it will take couple of quarters. So will be, for, if there are logistical related issues, primarily since we are importing ammonia, acetic acid. So all these products, raw materials are at their peaks in terms of prices. So when do you think will, situation, get to a better, scenario where, raw material prices will soften and, we'll get back to a situation which we enjoyed probably a couple of quarters back?
Very, very difficult to say, because, for example, I would just say that is it possible for you to predict what the crude oil prices will be,
Correct.
which is the root cause of most of these price increases,
Right.
So, I mean, it's the largest commodity in the world and nobody is able to predict that. So I would not venture a guess about where the prices would go. And the best guess is on the past, and this seems to be the highest we have seen. So hopefully it doesn't go further up and then heads now in the opposite direction.
Also, sir, I just wanted to understand in terms of like for these raw materials which we import, and obviously, there are disruptions even from China. So is it a possibility that, we have some sources from India itself, or is that kind of possibility there, or we still have to depend on,
Our raw materials are not coming from China. Our customers' raw materials, some of them are coming from China.
Okay.
So most of our raw materials are coming from the Middle East or Europe or America. I don't think we are importing anything from China.
Okay. So as you indicated, sir, these prices are almost, as you feel, it's peaked out now.
That's our best guess. I mean, we hope and we could turn out to be wrong. People feel that $80 a barrel is a high price.
Correct.
But it has gone to 110 in the past also, dollars.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for the clarification and wish you a happy Diwali, sir.
Same to you. Happy Diwali.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Mr. Nilesh Guge from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yes, a couple of questions from my side. Sir, the first question is on the government production link incentive scheme. So what is it has been already 1.5 years announcing this PLI scheme. So what is the on-ground impact being observed by you after this scheme announcement? Have you seen any change in demand or any projects which are coming up over the next 2-3 years so that they can take the benefit of this scheme announced? And what is the impact or the benefit to overall amines industry?
The PLI scheme is going to be rolled out over the next 5 years. Definitely it will have an impact on the pharma industry where it is one of those industries sectors which has been highlighted. However, the bigger impact is the move away from China more than just the PLI, because the PLI will affect people's margins by 1 or 2%, considering the amount of money that is being promised to people based on production. But as a major that sector, as a pharma sector, is very, very optimistic of growth, both domestic and in terms of their export potential. And the disruptions in China is helping Indian manufacturers quite a bit, irrespective of the PLI. It's just the topping, it's not the real base cream. The real thing is the change in the attitude of people to try and move to diversify their source of raw materials.
And also it will create a lot more jobs. That itself will be a push to the overall economy, which in turn always helps most of the industries,
I think if you can, it's just a small straw in the wind, but the pharma city outside Hyderabad, that big multi-acre site that the government is developing, is totally sold out to the pharma company. You cannot buy another plot there. So you can imagine what people are thinking forward, of what they will expand into.
Okay. The second question on this, on your product portfolio. See, currently, if I look at the alkyl amines products, which are very close to APIs, or maybe two steps away from APIs. So are there any plans of the company to enter into API manufacturing?
Not immediately.
Okay. And sir, you touched upon this capex plan. You are planning about 1.7 billion this year and next year as well. So apart from that, for your future expansion, are we looking for any land parcel in and around wherever, in the Maharashtra or in Gujarat, for the future expansion plans?
Yeah, we are looking for parcels of 100 acres, anywhere from 70 to 150 acres.
But I would also like to state that all our capex requirement, all the plans which we have in, think till September of 23 or even later, we have enough land available currently.
Okay. So you are looking for the land parcel for future expansion, beyond September 2023. Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot, sir. And sir, in our last interaction, you said about the debottlenecking of or the brownfield expansion of your DMA HCl. So what is the current status of that? And I will also like to know the status of your aliphatic amine expansion project. What is the status?
The aliphatic amines, we said now we are putting up a new project in Kurkum with a project cost of around 350 to 360 crores, which will come up end of 22. And what was the other question?
DMA HCl.
DMA HCl is a continuously, we go on adding capacities to our existing set of capacities. And so every year you will see our capacity going up, which has really helped us in selling more of DMA HCl.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to management of Alkyl Amines Limited for closing remarks.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. I hope that we have been able to clarify some of the points which have been raised. As I mentioned earlier, that so far this first half has not been not so good, but it's not been so bad also, considering the conditions prevailing. As we mentioned, we hope that the raw material prices do stabilize, and we are able to, and our new projects which we have planned, and one of them is acetonitrile, which is just starting, that will add to our top line as well as bottom line. So thank you very much, and I thank my colleagues who are here, and I wish everybody a happy Diwali. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of HDFC Securities, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.